Hello everyone, welcome back to Anatomy Student Zone. Today I will explain you detailed anatomy of posterior compartment of thigh. So what exactly the posterior compartment of thigh is? It is key area that houses some of most important muscle for movement and stability. In this video I will tell you about the muscles that make up this compartment, where they are located, how they work together, why they are essential for your mobility, and how they impact your daily activities and the exercise routine, how we can strengthen them. In the next part of this video, I will explain the detailed attachment and the clinicals which are related to that. There are four muscles in a posterior compartment with the name of biceps femoris having two heads. I will cover the detail later, what that heads are, semimembranosus, semitendinosus. Even some books have mentioned the adductor magnus hamstring portion also in a posterior compartment of thigh. So you have to remember that adductor magnus hamstring part is also included in it. Otherwise, we are having biceps femoris two heads, semimembranosus and semitendinosus muscle in this compartment. I have already covered this muscle, that is adductor magnus hamstring part, in detail in a adductor or a medial compartment, so I will not cover this right now. So why some books have mentioned this in a posterior compartment? Reason also explained already because it's a composite muscle and it lies between a medial and a posterior compartment. That's why it's supplied by the nerve of a medial and the posterior compartment. Hence, its hamstring part is also included by some books in a posterior compartment that is mentioned in your reference book. Regarding the content of a posterior compartment, I will say there are four muscles in this compartment: biceps femoris with a long and a short head, semitendinosus and a semimembranosus. Blood supply of this compartment is through branches of profunda femoris artery, and the nerve supply is through sciatic nerve, that is nerve of your posterior compartment. So three of these four muscles in a posterior aspect of thigh, we name them as an hamstring. So the hamstring muscle are semitendinosus, semimembranosus and just long head of biceps femoris. So remember, the short head of biceps femoris is not included in hamstring. You also have to remember here that the hamstring muscles which I have mentioned, which muscle these are, they share common features. And what these features are, these are their proximal attachment is on a ischial tuberosity, and they are deep to the gluteus maximus. When we are going to remove gluteus maximus muscle, then we can observe the proximal attachment of these muscle, that is on ischial tuberosity. So another common feature is regarding distal attachment of these muscle. The distal attachment of these hamstring is to the bone of a leg, that are tibia and a fibula, and not on a bone of a thigh, that is a femur. So you will see these muscles are going to attach on a tibia and fibula. So if the distal attachment is on a bone of a leg, it's quite obvious they are going to cross knee joint. So they span and act on a two joint, and these joint are hip joint and a knee joint. So these are the muscle which are going to act on these two joints. Hence, hamstring are extensor of thigh at hip joint and they are flexor of leg at knee joint. So last common feature is they are innervated by the tibial division of sciatic nerve. So if I summarize these common feature of hamstring, I will say proximal attachment is on ischial tuberosity, distal attachment is on a tibia and a fibula, and they are innervated by tibial division of sciatic nerve. Now my question is, have you ever thought why the long head of biceps femoris is included in hamstring group and short head of biceps femoris is not included in this group? If you know this, you are great, and I believe you are. But if you don't know, don't worry, I am here to help you out. So the long head of biceps femoris is included in a hamstring group because it meets all above mentioned condition that I have told you. And fourth muscle of this group, that is short head of biceps femoris, it even failed to meet any of these above mentioned requirements or the criteria that we have mentioned for a hamstring. So you will come to know how that when I am going to cover this detail. So now another question is, why the hamstring received their name as an hamstring? So they received their name from a word that is hamstringing. Hamstringing is a method in which crippling or a crippling of a person or an animal is done. so that they can't walk properly. So in this method, what the people used to do, they used to damage the hamstring tendon in a thigh of an individual. So this explains the expression hamstringing the enemy by slashing these tendon lateral and medial to knee joint. So when these tendons were slashed lateral and medial to knee joint, that person was crippled and they were unable to walk properly. So another reason that the books have mentioned regarding its name is from tying up and hanging a leg or a long tendon of a ham or a poke thigh for a curing purpose or a smoking purpose. Hence the hamstrings got their name from these 2 points that I have mentioned. Now I will tell you few important points regarding hamstring that will help you in exercise, and you will come to know their importance in a routine activities. Initially I told you hamstring act at hip joint and knee joint, and they are extensor of thigh at hip joint and flexor of leg at knee joint. So this action of a hamstring should be on a fingertip. So I am repeating it again. They are extensor of thigh at hip joint and they are flexor of leg at knee joint. But remember, these two action of these muscle can't be performed maximally at same time. So I am going to explain my statement that I have told you that these two action of hamstring can't be performed maximally at same time. So when our knee is fully flexed, as you can see in this image, the knees are fully flexed. At that time, hamstrings are acting as a flexor of knee. That is their normal function. So I want to focus on a point that at fully flexed knee, your hamstrings are already too shortened. So they are acting as a flexor, and at that time they can't shorten more, so that they are not able to perform the additional contraction that is necessary for a full extension of a thigh. So they can't perform extension at that time when they are doing flexion. So similarly, I can say, in other words, when we are having full extension at a hip joint, at the time hamstring are acting as an extensor of thigh at hip joint. So at that time hamstring are already shortened, so they can't further contract to act fully on a knee joint as a flexor. So they can't perform function of a flexion at knee joint when they are acting as extensor at hip joint. If I summarize, I will say the two action of hamstring, that are flexion of leg at knee joint and extension of thigh at hip joint, they can't be performed at the same time maximally. So at one time hamstring can be flexor of a leg at knee, and on other time they can be extensor of a thigh at hip joint, but at same time they can't perform both function. Now you have to remember another point, that in our routine activities which we are going to perform in our daily life, these hamstring are extensor of thigh and they are active as in thigh extensor under all situation. So they are active even when we are maintaining our relaxed standing posture, when we are talking with each other in that posture, when we are standing at ease, our hamstring are also extending the thigh. Similarly, hamstring are also involved when we are walking on a flat ground. At that time, they are also acting at hip joint and they are also as an extensor when the gluteus maximus is going to demonstrate minimal activity at that time. So how hamstring help us in walking? It means when we are walking, they're also going to help us. They do this by contracting and by acting as an agonist. So when they act as an agonist, they perform their normal function that I have told you, and you know their normal function is hip extension and a knee flexion. Hence, in this way, by flexing knee and extending the thigh at hip joint, they are going to help us in walking. In this table, the phases of gait cycle are shown, and you can see there are the two phases of gait cycle. This is the stance phase and a swing phase. We can see here the swing phase is having three phases again: initial swing, mid swing and a terminal swing. And you can observe during a terminal swing phase of walking, hamstring eccentrically contract and they resist the hip flexion and a knee extension. So by resisting these movements, they facilitate their normal function, that is hip extension and a knee flexion. So they help us in a walking during this phase of gait cycle. So that's very important point. Dear friends, I told you hamstring are extensor of thigh under all situation, but there is one exception. What that exception is, when they're not acting as an extensor of thigh. You can answer this because I have already covered. So what that condition is, this condition is when we have fully flexed our knee. When we have fully flexed our knee, at that time they can't do extension of thigh. So you can practice this. So when you are going to perform this activity or exercise, the things will be more clear to you. So you can understand the importance of a hamstring if you ask a question from a person who have paralyzed hamstring. What he will answer you, he will say, I tend to fall forward. So why the person with a paralyzed hamstring, they are going to tend to fall forward? It's because gluteus maximus alone can't maintain the necessary muscle tone for a standing or a straight posture that is needed at that time. So they fall forward. Length of my hamstring and your, it varies because this is usually a matter of conditioning. So in some people, length of hamstring is not enough to allow them to touch their toes when the knees are extended. If you are one of them and you are unable to touch your toes with the knee extended, believe me, you can lengthen your hamstring muscle. And the hamstring, these are long head of biceps, semimembranosus and a semitendinosus. But how? By means of a routine stretch exercise, we can lengthen these muscle and a tendon. Remember, to test the hamstring, what you will check their normal function. That I have repeated again and again. But you have to check this normal function against resistance. This is very important point. So you will ask a person to flex their leg at a knee joint against resistance. When the person will do this, normally these muscles, especially their tendon, they will become more prominent on each side of popliteal fossa when the person will try to bend its knee. So as you can see here in this image, and the things will be more clear to you and you can easily observe the function of these muscles. Dear doctors, that was all about the hamstring, how they are helping us in routine activities, what they are going to do. Now it's a time to say goodbye and thank you, as if I'm going to cover the detail of these muscles right now, the things will be boring for you. So first you have to understand their normal function, how they are going to help us in a routine activity. And after that we will go through the detail of these muscles, their attachments. So I have covered right now how they are helping us in a routine activities, which exercises we can do that can strengthen these muscles. Similarly, how we can test these muscles. So again, the function of these muscles is very important. In next part, I will explain the detailed attachment of these muscles. Till then, be happy, keep watching this channel, and please don't forget to hit on a bell icon for upcoming videos. Thank you.